Bren, when I said we should get into the weed, this isn't what I had in mind. Oh god, the bees! Huh? Oh, yayo, what could we do without you? Rimworld is a game where one could achieve many fantasies, from creating colds, ranching with a family, to even going beyond the grip of Earth's gravity. But know what fantasy a lot of people seem to do a lot out on the rim? The Tony Montana Scarface fantasy. Given how consumables in the rim sell like hotcakes covered with illicit substances, I think you see why. That's why today we're gonna go over all the drugs in Rimworld, what defines a drug, anything you have to set up in a drug policy. So sit back, relax, maybe afterwards you watch the original Scarface. Yeah, the one with Al Pacino. Actually was a remake, while we go through all the drugs and consumables of Rimworld. So first off, before we get into the nitty gritty, a bit of background. Drugs in Rimworld come in 4 categories: social, hard, medical, and serums. Social drugs are ones that have a safe interview, meaning if you take them at certain times, you can bypass the danger of addiction, though keep in mind, while they won't cause overdoses, they can still cause health issues if taken too often. Hard drugs, meanwhile, always carry a risk of addiction and overdose when people take them. Medical drugs are the stuff that actually help pawns. They won't give pawns a mood buff, taking them, nor will they be selected for drug binge mental breaks. Finally, serums. The Anomaly DLC allows a player to create serums that are taken like drugs, though rather than being for mood, they provide their own buff and debuffs. For other information, pawns who had a gene like drug impervious gains immunity to addiction and overdose chances, while dependency genes do the same but require a constant supply to remain alive. For example, those wasters. Oof. Keep in mind, even with the immunity to those, any negative effects of the drug is still in play. Also do note pawns with chemical interest and fascination traits, they will always use Smokeleaf, beer, and ambrosia as recreation or to feed addictions regardless of any policy or ideology you may have. Finally, dealing with addiction. If you want to remove addictions, you can use a healer mech serum, but that might be a waste to some people. For most, it's arresting the pawn and keeping them locked up cold turkey until the addiction passes and then letting them back out. Other options is removing all drugs and letting them be a part of the colony, but with the risk of new drugs appearing from dead raiders and refueling the addiction, everything starting over, that and the risk of many mental breaks. Though you can keep them out on caravans, they won't cause problems beyond slowing the caravan down. Finally, if you are lucky with getting a pawn lending quest, you can let them be someone else's problem, killing some time to help alleviate the weight. So that's enough background, let's talk about what you really want to know about, the good stuff, what to make, what to trade, and what is the best to keep in an emergency. Starting off, a classic for everyone, especially in April, it's Smokeleaf. Well, I guess it's not April anymore, it's probably May when you see this video, but hey, at the time that we wrote this video, it was April, and this joke made sense. This leaf of smoking is, well, not a very good drug. Alright, pros very high, a mood buff of 13 with a bonus minus 20 pain percentage points. Cons, well, lowered consciousnesses. Yes, this is extremely dangerous, as if a pain hits a 0% consciousness, that's game over. This minus 30% conscience can really ruin a pawn's day if things get back, and the minus 10 moving and 30% hunger rate does boost it. It doesn't help. None of it really helps. The only value I see is either extremely early tradables, like if you are playing tribals, very rarely a mood buffer for about to snap pawns, and actually feeding it to prisoners, since hey, if they do break out, they will be sluggish and easier to deal with. It's very good to give to prisoners. Though, reminder that Smokeleaf over time causes carcinoma, or asthma, over time. If you still want to make some, it's 4 Smokeleaves a roll. Aside from that, make sure these are marked off of use recreationally, and perhaps try something a lot less frustrating. Psychite tea is the exact opposite of Smokeleaf. First off, it is easy to grow. More so, it can grow on polluted soil, which is better. So what does tea do? Well, tea makes the perfect companion to war crimes, of course. That and boost a pawn's rest need by 10% each time they drink it. 12 mood buff during the duration of the tea, 90% pain, and 80% restful rate. So what's the catch? Well, you need to take it intervals. 2 days is the minimum, but I recommend 3-day intervals to prevent accidental Psychite addictions from smaller bodied pawns like children. Aside from that, really not an issue. It's an early research to make Psychite tea and can be done as early as the tribal era. Highly recommended for supporting the colony, not so good for trading, but we got other stuff for that. Maybe it could be some Yorkshire brand. Ooh. And hey, for 4 Psychite leaves, it's a nice cheap pick me up. Yep. Oh yeah. Beer, supposedly the first beverage mankind made after water, perhaps by Charlie Mops. Either way, you can brew some of your own right on the rim with some hops, processing and some time in a warm barrel. But is it worth it? Like Smokeleaf? No. So Smokeleaf is more trouble than it's worth. Beer is kind of the same. First, the pros. A beer can be taken multiple times to get a bigger mood buff, from warm giving a +10 to hammered giving a 26. They also count as a food item and can feed some nutrition. Not very well, but technically it lives up to its name as liquid bread. Being inebriated reduces pain, like Smokeleaf. You can use it as a weapon, which is always funny. Beer has decent value at 12 silver a bottle, and well, that's it. Yeah, the negatives kinda outweigh the pros. What with alcohol levels reducing manipulation and movement on top of a vomiting chance, which can be a pain for everyone involved. Oh yeah, more social fight chance. Real bar fight material here.
Raiders incoming! Turn on the turret!
Oh, and the best way to not get addicted is 1 beer a day. That's the best you got. Drink more than 1 and you are more likely to get addicted. And oh God, the liver damage. Chances for carcinoma or cirrhosis for pawns who drink a bit too much. And remember, that mood buff, know what happens after the night of partying? The hangover, giving a mood buff. Aside from being a trade item that is somewhat easy to make, I don't recommend getting involved with alcohol as the cons really outweigh what little pros. Maybe keep some for emergency mood buffs. I prefer them more than Smokeleaf, but not by much. Not even that much. It's pretty much terrible. Ambrosia is unique in the sense you can't farm it. No matter what, it will be in limited supply, though given it's named after the Greek food of gods, yeah, fitting. So what can it do? Well, it gives a pawn's chemical recreation. Yes, a bit of food and +5 mood, and that's it. Really, that's all about it. Its purpose is to be a mood booster with no downsides beyond an extremely minor addiction chance, and even then the withdrawal symptoms is a -10 mood debuff. During that time, honestly, when you get them, it's great. Just set it to take 1 every 2 days and enjoy the extra mood buff. Great early game, not so much late game, but otherwise beneficial. Fun fact, this was actually added to the game thanks to the Kickstarter backer Aspen Shadow. So dude, if you're watching this, thanks for suggesting this idea. Finally, the last of the social drugs is Salicaps, which Odyssey installed. You can now go to the Glow Forest where mushrooms are aplenty. These drugs are unique in how they never produce any addiction chance. Seriously, you can eat as many as you want and not get addicted. But before you pack up and go there, a word of warning. The mushrooms do lower consciousness in a pawn the more they take them, with higher addictions providing real good mood buffs, at the cost of locking their consciousness at 35%. That's a big yikes, like really big. Along with a global work speed penalty, the more you take, you'd think these shrooms would be the worst drug. Actually, it's one of the best. See, when taking one of these caps, you have a 2% chance of triggering an inspiration, an extremely helpful thing in any playthrough. In fact, it's hinted at its value as the one other place to find them is the insect hive where the hive queen hides. Take some shrooms, you might get an animal taming inspiration and have a new friend, or you might hit the 1% chance and have your pawn fall to the ground out like a light. So yeah, High risk, but very high reward. That can really help for certain situations or just making a fancy chair. Okay, Bren, when I said we need to sell pot, this is not what I meant. Though saying that these are nice, you know what? Carry on. Very nice cooking pots. Moving on to the hard stuff, we have yayo, which is cocaine, which, given it's using the Spanish slang for the stuff, will obviously be addictive. Snow. That can boost your pawn speed, 15% move speed bonus on top of a 33% sleep reduction with 50% pain levels. All while giving pawns a plus 35 mood. So what's the downsides? Well, on top of always having a risk of addiction, pawns also take a risk of causing chemical damage to the kidneys. Plus, that chance to overdose on the stuff is always there. Now, given it is a Psychite substance, do not overindulge on this, and Psychite tea as the tolerance build that can cause chemical damage will be in play. As for selling the stuff, I mean, you could. After all, it's profitable. However, there is another drug that is perfect for your empire. Though we will return to yayo, though in another form, soon enough. Flake is the counterpart of yayo. Made of the same substance, heck, the effects on a person are pretty similar, with a 35 mood buff, 50% pain reduction, 33% sleep fall rate, just no movement boost. Even similar downsides, so what makes this different from yayo? Well, yayo has a 1% chance to get addicted. Flake, meanwhile, is 5%. That small percentage, it really adds up. However, with Flake isn't a good drug to keep pawns happy aside from emergencies and pick-me-ups. It is one of the best things for selling. Let's do some math. As you can see on the board here, Flake requires 4 Psychite leaves to process versus Yayo's 8 needed. This is also on top of Flake only needing 250 ticks or 4.17 seconds to process versus Yayo's 350 ticks or 5.83 seconds. Now, the value of Flake is 14 silver a unit versus Yayo's 21. But don't forget, it takes twice the leaves to make yayo, so leaf for leaf, yayo is actually worth 10.5 silver. Put all this together, you are looking at a profitability of 1.842 of Flake versus yayo's 1.382. So yeah, yayo is for recreation, Flake is for selling and ruining other people's lives, not your pawns. Yo Juice is the processed super soldier serum derived from yayo, highly potent for anyone out on the battlefield. So the benefits, a plus 5 mood buff, times 10 pain, meaning all pain inflicted on the pawn is divided by 10 to 20%. Consciousness boost, 35% sight boost, and 50% movement speed boost. Do note, there is always a 2.6 addiction chance. However, despite that, this is what you save for when you need to raid or defend your base. Not to mention, a reason to have hussars in the colony given they are immune to any nasty side effects. However, there is a major complication when it comes to Go Juice. Manufacturing the stuff requires yayo and nutramine. Nutramine cannot be made by your colony. It can only be found as loot or bought by traders. So your supply, it will always be limited. So for this drug, either save it for hussars or when the chips are down and you need a combat boost for your best pawns. Finally, Wake Up. This pill is basically considered 5-hour energy in pill form. As the name implies, taking it will give a 100% rest need fulfillment followed by 10% consciousness and movement boost, 50% global work speed, 20% sight focus, meditation rate, and times 80% rest fall rate, meaning it takes longer for your pawns to fall asleep. So the addiction chances, just 2%. Honestly doesn't seem like a bad thing. Yeah, there's 2 things that will make you not want to make Wake Up for the colony. First, you need nutramine to actually make Wake Up, just 2, but that adds up quickly, especially for a substance you can't make yourself. Second, there is always a risk of a heart attack. When you take that pill, you are basically playing Russian roulette, and you will eventually hit the wrong chamber. The good news, you can bypass that issue with a bionic or prosthetic heart, which eliminates heart attacks on a pawn. But the cost to make these means I wouldn't recommend using them on a schedule. Instead, either make a few or buy some from a trader and save them for certain pawns who need to remain awake. For instance, after a fight and need doctors to constantly be up, perhaps finish an important research project with an all-nighter. Stuff like that. Use Wake Up as a tool, not as a recreation booster. It is a tool. Repeat, tool. Modify your pawns that you need to keep up all the time and give it to them. In the medical drugs, we have 2. First, we have penicillin, your best friend on harder difficulties that Noobert is actually highly allergic to. While a pawn is under its effects, they won't get malaria, sleeping sickness, or the plague. Trust me, this is a lifesaver, as harder difficulties tend to bring that out, especially during bad times. I'm looking at you, Randy. Yeah, I see you on the side of the screen. You get out of here. You shoot. We shoot. So, how does one make this medical pill? Just 2 Nutrimine. Again, gonna have to buy the stuff, but at least each pill lasts 5 days. Well, 5.5 to give pawns time to refill. So if you have any pawns who shouldn't get sick, set them to 5-day intervals with the stuff, and when you can constantly purchase Nutrimine, just have a whole colony on the stuff, and not worry about that part of the game. Just keep in mind you can't overdose on the stuff, but it does contribute to the total amount of substances to cause overdosing. Luciferium, the most infamous of all drugs on the Rim. A pill with nanomachines inside. Actually, very helpful ones. Taking a Luciferium provides a reduced pain to 80%, 10% more consciousness, 5% more movement, 15% improved sight. Yeah, that's right, improved. 70% blood filtration, 15% blood pumping, 20% digestion, 10% improved breathing, and finally, every 15 to 30 days, a random scar or ailment will be cured. Yeah, the ultimate pill. So let's see the side effects. Redder blood, irritability, paranoia, class 8 diarrhea, the realization you sold your soul to a devil of sort, hiccups, nightmares, loss of appetite, increase of appetite, blue urine, itchy elbows, color blindness, bone shrinkage, the sudden desire to listen, non-weird AI polka, inability to whistle, loss of smell, loss of being able to smell, extremely painful death. Seriously, what the heck, you doomed yourself. Yeah, it's known as the devil's bargain, as pawns who take the pill have a ticking time bomb in them, as when the nanites run out, they turn on the person driving them insane before painfully killing them. And no, Sanaphages are not immune to this. It specifically destroys the brain. You have 6 days to replenish your Luciferium needs in a pawn, otherwise they are dead. As for where to find the stuff, traders or treasure, that's your only option. Good luck if you take the devil's bargain, cause there's no way out. Not even Helamex serums can cure this. Bren, when I said, you know what? I'm out. Alright, see you later. Finally, we have serums from Anomaly. How they work is simple. Just make them, inject them, and for a few days get the effects of them, usually at the cost of mood. There is no addiction chance or other health risks beyond maybe mental breaks if you don't manage moods. First, the Ghoul Resurrection Serum made out of 20 twisted meat and biofrite. It lets you inject a dead ghoul and in a few hours it pulls an Undertaker. The Juggernaut Serum gives a pawn for 10 days a 0.5 movement speed boost, 150% melee damage factor, and 200% healing factor, all at the cost of -10 mood during the time. 20 twisted meat and 10 biofrite makes one of these. Make blood serums, give a pawn for 5 days, a 50% damage incoming multiplier, basically the tough trait, all for the cost of 400% flame and burning damage. Do not play with fire on this one. Again, 20 twisted meat and 10 biofrite. Mind numb serums do as implied, numbing a pawn's mind of all distractions and issues, so no mental breaks, thoughts, inspirations, or even forced mental states like Sanaphage's fear of fire. That I didn't know about. All this for 2 days, and with a -5 consciousness, which honestly isn't a bad deal. Good for keeping doctors busy on their work when mental breaks can't be afforded. 2 Nutrimine and 30 biofrite makes this stuff. Finally, the Void Sight Serum. This one gives a pawn for 15 days the Void Sight, so 125% study efficiency, and psychic sensitivity with the cost of -4 mood debuffs. Very good, guys. Very good for psychcasting, as that psychic sensitivity, it can add up. 2 Nutrimine and 10 biofrite makes these. So that's every drug in Rimworld, as of writing at least. Hopefully you learned something new about these substances. I know I did. And if you liked the video, please hit the subscribe button. It really helps us out. We want to keep getting that number climbing. It makes us feel good here at the studio. As for everyone else, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Consider supporting us on Patreon, and I'd like to thank everybody that supports us on Patreon. We couldn't do these videos without you guys. This video today was brought to you by our Patreon members. So thank you to all of them for helping us get this one out there for you. I'll see you guys in the next video.